Welcome back, guys. This is the Pretentious Cinephile Studio, and this is the fourth episode now. So we're getting there. We're getting there. And today I have Adrian Enley, and the movie of discussion today is Forrest Gump, personal favorite of mine. And the reason I told you to watch Forrest Gump is because of the drive that we had the other day when coming to our radio show. And I just for you, Forrest Gump makes sense. And I must let you know before we start, this is, if not the most, I don't know, okay, it's my favorite movie currently. But it's in the top 5 all time.
Yeah.
I don't know what number, but it's my favorite movie currently. So what I always do is, because now we're trying to find the identity of the show, how it goes and all that. So what I've been doing is just talking about little random topics. I have introduced something new today, which is this little bowl of stuff. So I've asked random people, called in most of it. So I've asked random people to just write like questions or facts about the movie, basically Forrest Gump today, and we're gonna be using it as our discussion points throughout.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. So basically, what I do is start out as, what did you think when I said, okay, watch this movie? So what did you initial reactions for me suggesting Forrest Gump to you?
Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me on the Pretentious Cinephile.
So so we boiled it down to either the Pretentious Cinephile Studio or just the Cinephile Studio. Yeah. But it looks like it's going to be Cinephile Studio.
I don't know if I love that word cinephile. I mean, I know what it means, but it's just like, sounds a bit dodgy.
What do you mean?
Cinephile. Like other files. You know
my goodness, no. I didn't even think about that.
Anyway, point
PDF
of the story
files.
So when you told me the movie was going to be Forrest Gump, I was excited.
Because I remember you said yes.
I said yes with like 7 S's. Forrest Gump's one of those movies that I've seen so many times, and every single time I watch it, I enjoy it as much as the first time.
Like I've watched it like 6-7 times, I think, and I can't not enjoy it. I cannot not enjoy it. I don't know if that double triple negative does justice, but like Forrest Gump will always be the best.
Yeah, so when you told me about it, I was like, well, here's another good excuse to go watch it again. So literally as soon as I got home yesterday, I sat in front of my TV. Luckily it was on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
Didn't even have to try and find it. It was right there.
I feel like it's gonna leave soon.
It is leaving soon. So probably when you watch this, it won't be there anymore. But your loss.
There's other sites.
Very legal sites you can find it on. But no, genuinely, I was really excited because I feel like I have a lot to say about this movie.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna look at the storyline. I want to look at not necessarily like the cinematography. I just want to, for Forrest Gump, I want to just look at the story as a whole, because it does a lot. There's like history thrown in there. There's like a bit of romance, and then history that ties in with actual American history. Yeah. So we see a bit of like the Elvis Presley thing, like where Forrest inspires Elvis Presley. So at this time, I'm gonna ask you, as my first guest to have this, you can pick the first thing out and see what we're gonna have as our first discussion point.
Just saying, this was not pre-planned, by the way. This is off the cuff. Was the history necessary to drive the narrative?
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, just straight into it. Okay. Was the history? Okay. I remember who put that down there. I did.
I know who put that.
Like, I know. Yeah.
What a good question to ask.
Was the history necessary? So I want to choose one point of history, and that was I guess the easiest one is the Elvis Presley.
Well, that's kind of the first one we see. You know what I was trying to do when I was watching Forrest Gump yesterday? I was trying to watch it as someone that's never seen it before and never heard of it. Because that's how I love watching movies. If I've never seen a trailer for it, I know nothing about it. So you don't watch
the trailer?
I try not to watch trailers nowadays for movies. But going into this one, I was trying to imagine what it would be like. And you would think it's a pretty normal story up until that moment where young Forrest Gump, in his house, he beats Elvis. And
he still had the thing he's on.
The thing is, not only does he meet Elvis, he apparently in the movie inspires Elvis's little, like pelvis move. And that's the first indication that, okay, cool, this guy Forrest Gump, because obviously we know he's a fictional character, but this guy's an influential person. That's the first instance we see.
I was actually very confused. I was like, because I was so many like historical like nudges and what.
Yes.
And as a child, I just remember run, Forrest, run, that whole.
Yes.
But I thought he was someone in history, because I was like, okay, he's meeting the president, he's World War whatever. I thought, okay, Forrest Gump must be a real person.
No, genuinely, I think exactly. Because I must have watched Forrest Gump for the first time when I was in grade 7 or like grade 6. So
I have no, it was primary somewhere.
I genuinely thought, oh, this guy's real. Like, it made so much sense because I'd seen movies like that before, like biographical movies.
Yeah.
And what got me was that they would insert him into historical moments, into different clips. And at the time, it looked very real. Were you watching it yesterday? The editing's a little bit like it's...
I think it holds up though. For 94, yes.
1994.
For a 94 movie, the 30 years. Democracy. Anyway, but 94 years. 94 years.
94 years that movie's been out, 100%. Tom Hanks still going.
30 years ago, I think the editing still holds up.
No, it's very impressive. It's just sometimes when because they do sometimes like dub over the historical figures, so they kind of move their mouths. So that's when it only gets a little bit dodgy.
Oh, really? I didn't.
But in general, whenever they're inserting Forrest into a significant, like actual archival footage, it looks really seamless.
Was it actually?
Yeah, there was. So some of them, like I think there was an instance where they showed the first school in Alabama that integrated. And there was literally like archival footage they took of these kids being, like when they walked into the school for the first time. And they had just added Forrest in there. And it looks so seamless.
I really thought it was a reenactment.
No, some of them are literally just, they've taken actual clips and just sort of edited him in. And for 1994, that's really impressive.
That just pushes it up, because I thought this was all like reenactment.
No.
Wow,
I mean, the one where he's meeting presidents, they've literally taken archival footage. All they've done is they've just changed the mouth. So if you look at it, they've just like somehow, I don't know how they did it, because this is obviously shot in film, I would assume. I don't know how they would do it in 1994, but they've somehow managed to change the mouth. So the mouth is moving differently and they've added a voice. But everything else is pretty much the same, which is really cool.
Because I did read up, like as I was researching the thing, that there was a VFX guru on the thing, even though he didn't do much on Forrest Gump, but he was very much. And I wondered where the hell the VFX are, because I thought it was just reenacted with a bit of.
No, they literally took like actual footage and just would edit it in, which again, I'm blown away for that time. Very ahead of its time.
I guess, okay, then to go back to the question, does it drive the narrative of Forrest Gump? So what is the central narrative of Forrest Gump? Is it him just trying to find his place in the world, or what is that? What did you take out as a narrative, or the main narrative?
Do you know what I think? I think it's almost this idea of someone like failing upward. Forrest Gump is someone who...
Failing upward.
Have you heard of that term before?
I've heard, like, now and then people use it, but I never really looked into it.
Like, my understanding of it is that like somehow through no fault of your own, you just keep on seeming to just do better and better and better. And I think with Forrest Gump, if you had to tell a story about Forrest Gump and not make him sort of the centerpiece of so many significant events within America during the 70s and 80s, it would be a pretty cool story. It would be interesting. But what drives it is that they make it seem like it actually happened, and that all the historical events that are so, iconic, things like the Vietnam War is mentioned.
Yeah, like
things like
there was the shooting of the
shooting of JFK was mentioned. All these things, like meeting presidents. The whole fact is like you're taking this guy who, for his time, was considered dumb, simple, all these terrible words. He is like the center. He's at the center of all of this, of all of these amazing achievements and moments that happened in US history of the time.
And he's so oblivious of what's happening around him. He's just like, okay.
That's the best part of all of it, is he doesn't know. Like at one point he's like, oh yeah, I went to go see the president again.
Just second time in the White House. Yeah. And he needed to pee or something, and he was like, I gotta pee.
Yeah.
Like, he's just that guy. Okay, I think the character Forrest Gump is written very well. And at this moment, I want to grab another point, because I'm now hoping it's what I saw someone put in.
Okay.
Because it will be a nice segue.
A nice little segue.
So let's hope
the podcast gods will allow us to do this.
I'm hoping it's like okay, I'm going to take that one. Please. Nope. Okay, cool. So it says here, being an idiot is no box of chocolates. And the reason for this is, did you know that this is what he says?
Being an idiot is no box of chocolates.
Yeah. Isn't that his whole catchphrase?
No, I thought it was life is like a box of chocolates.
So, okay, now, it's actually the original quote Was because the book is Forrest is a book.
Yeah, it's based off a book.
Yeah, and then the book says being being an idiot is no box of chocolates, and then it was adapted to the movie. The movie, they would change it up a bit into like, oh no, life is like a box of chocolates. I guess it makes sense. So I wanted basically with this, do you think it should remain life is like a box of chocolate, or should have the directors and the writers of the movie should have just stuck with what the book says? Because people always say the book is better, whatever.
I'm trying to think what that even means. What being an idiot is no box of chocolates.
Because the way I'm understanding it, because like when he says, "Mama always say life's like a box of chocolate," all that is basically you don't know what's gonna happen. Like this whole life is basically, oh, this happened. Oh, I met the president again. Yeah. What I'm thinking this ties up to Forrest Gump is he was like lack of a better word, was considered as an idiot there. And you never know what you're gonna get with that thing. So him being an idiot is like there's an expected means. So basically it's no box of chocolate, because the chocolate you don't know what's gonna get.
You know what's gonna get, yeah.
But like being an idiot it's nothing like that. You already know that people are gonna treat you a particular way. So that's how I understood.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like because from the get-go, I mean, that's with one in the first few lines of the movie that we hear is, my mom always said. I think that's the driving force behind the entire movie. You never know what you're going to get. With Forrest Gump, you never know what you're going to get. You think you see where this is going, where this movie's going, where his life is going, but that's not the case. You really don't know. So I feel like that as like the central theme of the movie is good, and I'm glad they kind of changed it, I think.
I'm just trying to imagine the movie with that, with like if they just stuck to what the book says, like, oh, being an idiot is no box of chocolate. So I feel like it would have changed the meaning to be like being an idiot is not easy, and it would have watered down some of the.
I think it's interesting because obviously it's a touchy subject because look, there's a lot. Obviously, I love Forrest Gump, but I don't know if you know, but Forrest Gump in recent years has become quite a divisive film.
In what way?
For many reasons, okay? Lots of people think that the way that Forrest himself is depicted is quite stereotypical and actually, has done more damage to people who do have certain neurodivergent issues, So there's that. There's also the whole thing of with Forrest, this I find interesting. Okay, I don't want to get into this, but you know what? I feel like since we're talking about Forrest Gump, we might as well. There's quite a big movement at the moment with people criticizing the way Forrest Gump was made and the character itself as it being a conservative film. People are saying that people have labeled Forrest Gump today as being propaganda, as being like completely right-winged, as being conservative, as being all these things, because they take issue with the fact that in Forrest Gump, it seems that the life that Forrest is mapped out, where you are the good, goody two-shoes, does what everyone says type person, it means you live a long and happy life. Whereas if you are the Jenny character who is exploring, doing all these things, reckless, doing drugs, you're gonna just end up in a grave, essentially. That's the kind of.
I would argue still against that. People are taking
that's what the story is doing. It's showing you the two maps of the American life and what it could look like, and how there is one right and there's one wrong.
I mean, I can't speak for the American lifestyle. I mean, for obvious reasons. But I think you can still, especially looking at, like, I want to, like, that I wanted to leave for last, like Jenny and
I know Forrest, you want to talk about Jenny, because this is the one that
I want to leave that one for last, but, like, I would say this now, like, I think Forrest can also be viewed as, like, yes, everything was good for him, but was it actually, like, as Forrest Gump did he experience it in a good way? In that, like, he was basically Jenny mistreated Forrest sometimes. So many people didn't treat him well.
Yeah.
And the only reason why he succeeded, I guess, he just didn't care.
Yeah.
So he didn't understand, or he was oblivious to. So you could look at it like, okay, yes, he's a particular way, but the only reason why he's moving or progressing in this direction is because he just doesn't let whatever get to him. So I mean I get that where that comes from, but I think you can also look at it in a different view. That's the beauty of the film. We have
I think like the discourse around Forrest Gump is like a whole other conversation in itself. But I just find it interesting that's how the perception of it has swayed. But I think like going back to the storyline ultimately, because that's what we want to focus on here. Like I think the storyline with with the quote, as I mentioned, it kind of sets it up perfectly for what the story is. As I said, you don't know what you're going to get.
Iconic line, like, yeah.
It sets it up so perfectly because it weaves through so many important historical events that completely drives the narrative. It's just how every single time you see Forrest Gump in some way or another, like involved in these historical events that happens during America in like a very pivotal time for them in their history. And I think that's part of the thing. This is ultimately an adventure movie. Like you're going on the wildest adventure and you don't know what you're going to get next with Forrest Gump.
Okay, yeah, I think that ties that up nicely. And I am I wonder what sound effect I should put like to this.
Just the side. It's just the wide boobs. Oh, it just says run question mark.
Oh, hectic. Huh. I mean, I guess we know what that. Okay, I'm gonna say take another one.
Okay.
I will think of that. I think the person, I don't know. Again.
Run, Forrest.
I think it was like, what is the missing word? I feel like it was the missing word. Run, Forrest, run.
Do you think he had to learn, this is Tom Hanks,
okay,
how to run with the leg? Oh no, the young actor, how to run with the leg brackets.
Ooh, okay, because
yeah, it does look super awkward when he's running.
Because he walks a bit weird as well. Like, I mean, because he has the
braces.
I don't know, is it called braces?
Braces. Well, in the movie they call it braces. I don't know what you'd call it today.
Yeah, but I feel like you'd need to learn because that looks uncomfortable running in it. Because like that scene where he's like, the run, Forrest, run, for the first time that we see, he like the breaking off part looks very uncomfortable. I was like, isn't that painful? Like, and I feel like he would have had to learn. I actually don't know if I didn't go over the part of the research.
Yeah. What's interesting though, I wonder if, again, this might be a issue of what color was the sky, you know what I mean? Why did the poet? But
also, wait, before you go there, I just realized these two actually tie up so nicely. Run, Forrest, run, and then...
That's true, actually. You see? Thank you.
But yeah, it just makes sense.
No, this thing of like run, because that's a theme again, like from the beginning, Forrest still to run. When he's in Vietnam and the bullets are flying. Run, Forrest, run. Like that's what you're meant to do. Like he's constantly running away. And we see how running throughout his life has gotten him so far, actually. Like running was what's got him into college because of football.
The football scholarship, yeah.
Like running was what saved his life and he was able to save like everyone's lives. Like running was what made him an icon in America when he decided to just run around America for no reason.
But I think that was, I don't think that was no reason though. Because I mean, he said he just got up and ran, but like, wasn't that because he was grieving his mother?
Well, no. So you know what's so funny, hey, is because I haven't seen Forrest Gump in a while before I watched it last night, and in my mind, I remember that he did that because he was grieving his mom, but actually no. In fact, when his mom died, he didn't seem to be that.
That's what I'm saying. I think it was a delayed.
Maybe, but he ran straight after Jenny left him. Like the second time.
Yo, this Jenny character. Okay, we're gonna get to Jenny.
After Jenny came back to live with him for a bit, and then they had some fun times, and then she just left the next morning. Then he decided to just run.
I think it was. I still feel like it was prompted by the death of his mother, and then Jenny like just also like just getting up and leaving at his most vulnerable, I guess.
Yeah.
Everything just came, and then he ran for like how many years? 3 years? 3 years?
I think so, 3 years.
And then just stopped randomly. I guess I still think it was ultimately it was just him dealing with like just being that feelings of abandonment because he asked for his father and and then he was like no, the mother told him. He's just gone to a place where he can't come back. And then now his mother, the only person who cared for him, like just decides to just also, didn't decide, but like got sick and then life happened. And then Jenny now, the person he's been chasing for so long, also just decides to leave. So maybe he thought he could run away from everything.
Maybe.
That's just my 2 cents. I don't know.
Could be.
But let me, I think we have one more because I wanted us to take 3 at least. 3 each. I mean, I'm gonna count this as 1. Just count this one. So you have 1 more. This is my second one.
Cool.
And whatever sound effect is there. Oh, perfect. It literally says, okay, let's talk about Jenny, not the boat.
Not the boat.
Yeah, because he does remember, he does rename the shrimp boat.
The shrimp boat.
So Jenny. I don't like Jenny.
I know.
So I used to be fine with her, and because I didn't when I watched it like in high school and whatever. But when I rewatched it recently, like for today, I was just like, no, man. This girl played with Forrest. And the only reason I say that because she literally did whatever she wanted. I mean, I get we have to address the elephant in the room, which is the father,
100%,
the abusive father that she had. So we know that Jenny had like many problems of her own. But now I'm looking at it, just their relationship between the two of them, because Forrest was like, no, I'm gonna be there. Even though I don't like, he himself knew like, okay, I'm not like the other kids. I'm not like everyone else or whatever. But he was willing to just stick it out for Jenny. But I don't think Jenny was willing to do the same, even though she came back at the end and be like, yo, Forrest, you have a kid now. Just randomly. I don't know. I want to hear your takes on the Jenny situation.
No, it's again so interesting because growing up, I had no issue with Jenny. I feel like I'm a romantic at heart. I'm a hopeless romantic. And looking at their story, like the way Forrest and Jenny met on the bus, no one else wanted to sit next to Forrest from when he was like tiny, and they became like the best. We were the best of friends, and how they just had this friendship from when they were tiny. It feels like it started in a very good place for me. Like it feels like without any ulterior motives, this friendship blossomed.
It was a true, real friendship, yeah.
It was. And so I think that's just kind of how I remembered it. But then when we actually had this conversation about Forrest Gump a few, weeks ago, and you were like, yeah, I don't like Jenny. And I was like, huh? Why would you say that?
I was just like...
And then, I haven't stopped thinking about that because I was like, actually, what did Jenny do? And so yesterday I was watching this movie again with that scope of like, what do I think about Jenny? And I can't lie. So it's, again, as you mentioned, Jenny clearly has been through a lot.
Yeah.
And Jenny probably has one of the craziest like character arcs.
She goes like, yeah.
Because again, clearly like abused from a very young age. Goes to live with her grandma. Goes off to college, does all these things, but then just there, she's the embodiment of that time in America.
Actually, she did the hippie thing as well.
She did the everything. She was going through all of it, like the hippie thing, the super, I mean, we would call it woke today, but like super conscious, socially conscious, hanging out. And then at one point, she's like getting into the 80s and she's in the clubbing scene doing all the hard drugs. Like
she literally did everything.
At one point, like almost jumps off a building, because she still wants to see if she can fly, when she prayed to be a bird. She goes through a hectic thing. And for me, what's interesting is that the constant throughout this constant change for her is Forrest. Like throughout her life, so much is changing, but every time her and Forrest are the same. So for me, in the end, she dies and she gets sick and she decides to, like, that's the only part from the movie where I'm like, why only at the end did you decide now, Jenny? Why only when you were dying did you decide, oh yeah, also by the way, you have a child? Like, how does she even know it's his child? I'm sorry. Like,
that's what my part is like, okay, I get... If we look at Jenny's character closer, we would understand, okay, no, this is why she did this. Like, you can explain, like, okay, rough childhood, not even just childhood, but like the life in general that we see, like all the ups and downs that she goes through. We can say, okay, maybe she was just not in a good space here. It wouldn't be good for Forrest. Forrest is this type of person. They need bad, whatever the case may be. The ending part with the child, I just feel like it just comes so much for Forrest, because like I feel like she just throws everything to Forrest, like, this is...
I don't know. Maybe that's a narrative issue or not. Maybe they could have done that better, because that feels so abrupt. Firstly, it just like it is that part where she introduces Forrest to his child doesn't make sense to me. It's so like out of nowhere, and it's handled so warmly, but it feels slightly cruel. Like, oh, Forrest, here you go. By the way, like you have a child.
You have a child. Yeah. What did you say? His name's Forrest.
Yeah.
I named after Daddy. I was like, whoa. Did you just? Yeah.
I mean, also I'm dying.
Just everything was thrown at Forrest. Like, so I feel like he was just also like, let me just do it, because that's how he's been doing. This whole, like, you never know what you're gonna get anyway. He's just going to see Jenny, and like he got a message, like, he got a letter from Jenny, like that's why he came running to her. But again, you could view Jenny anyway. I think they did it perfectly. Actually, it's fine that the way it is, the abruptness of it all, it gives that room for discourse of like, okay, Jenny is a character, and like also like what you mentioned earlier, the argument that's there, like what did you say? Like the argument with Jenny as a
I feel like she's. Well, this is what people are saying is that it seems like she's portrayed as like what can go wrong.
Yeah, so it also I'm fine with the like a film or like a body of work just opening up those questions because it creates like a conversation within like societal spaces. But yeah, that's about Jenny. Let's move on to your last pick, and then I'll also have just one last pick and just.
So I'm gonna see what this is, and if it's not what I actually want to really talk about, I'm gonna change it. So this one asks, which box of chocolates do you think he was referring to? Now, we've already gotten into that a lot. So I'm going to change this question.
Okay, what do you want to...
make more of a statement, really, because I think there's one person in Forrest Gump who I realized last night is actually my favorite character.
Bubba?
No.
Who?
Lieutenant Dan.
Oh, Lieutenant Dan.
What?
Dan.
Like, I know we were talking about Jenny's character arc, but Lieutenant Dan must be one of the most interesting characters.
You know, I had never thought about him before I watched it recently. He's also like a character that just I was like, this person is actually like a proper character in Forrest's life.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, I feel like he's some sort of father figure to him.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the wedding. I like that part where he got new legs. Like it's a new life for him. He's also changed like his whole from the army guy that we saw and to this guy now with new legs, whatever. And he kept his promise finally. It's like the day you get married, I will walk there. And then he got new legs, even though because it seemed it was implying that it's impossible for Forrest to get married, basically. And he lost his legs, like I'm gonna walk the day that you do. And then he actually walks there, keeps his promise, and then he's just like he also goes, even though he's less screen time than the other two, like Jenny but I think we see the growth in him as well.
It's, I don't know, there's just something like I'm genuinely getting goosebumps thinking about it, because there's just something so beautiful about his story. Because from the beginning, we're kind of told, oh, this guy actually, his family has a legacy of like dying in wars. And I'm sure he was told that his whole life. Like, oh, by the way, like your father and your grandfather, like all of them have fought in Great American Wars and died. And so when we introduced him for the first time, because we've seen, I mean, I'm sure you've seen so many Vietnam movies, like the commander is usually quite intense. But Lieutenant Dan, for some reason, like from the get-go, he's actually a little bit warm. Like he gives them genuine advice. He kind of says like, look, ultimately keep your feet safe and don't die. That's all I have to say. Like,
which he did, actually.
Which he did, you know, like from the beginning. And he seems like, I don't know, he's like a weird character. You don't dislike him. But then the whole thing happens where they have a shootout and he gets saved, and he says, why? I was supposed to die. That was my destiny. I was supposed to die there in Vietnam, and you didn't let me die. I was supposed to be one of like the many family members. And he goes through a terrible time. Like obviously he's has to get his legs amputated. He's living off the government welfare. Like he's drinking his life away in New York. And when he meets Forrest again, it's such a difference. Like this first time you meet Lieutenant Dan, because I feel like there's almost like 4 acts of his life. You meet him in Vietnam, he's this upstanding lieutenant. You meet him again properly in New York, where
he's like the drunkard
in a
type
wheelchair,
now.
You know, drunkard, like doesn't care about anything. You meet him again when he decides to become his shrimping captain as well.
I forget about the boat.
Because he also said, if you're going to start a shrimping boat company, I'm going to be your first mate.
Yeah. And he actually kept both those promises. Yeah.
And he does that. And then I think the scene that always gets me is when the storm happens. Because throughout, they speak about religion throughout the movie. And it's clear that Lieutenant Dan's obviously angry. Like he goes to church. There's a one scene where he's in church and he's just at the back sulking and drinking. So clearly, like, this man's angry at, like, God, essentially.
Was it angry at not dying or losing his legs?
Yeah, I think maybe both. Maybe both. But then there's that scene where there's this massive storm and Forrest is like, I'm so scared, but for some reason, Lieutenant Dan is, like, so excited. Like, he was mad. And he was actually, like, shouting at the top, like, you did, like, send us from the storm. Like, I can take it. Like, it's time for you and me to find
face to face. Let's face it now.
And then there's just this, like, beautiful conclusion where after they have so much success, there's just this quiet moment where Forrest and him are like kind of sitting, and he just says, you know what? I never thanked you for saving my life. For the first time, he's like, I'm actually glad that I didn't die. That wasn't actually my destiny. My destiny was here right now.
And the storm is over. It's like a nice moment.
And he just goes to like float on the water. And then we see him at the end with his fiance and his new legs. And it's just like, I don't know, like it makes me feel something. it makes me feel good.
Yeah, you're making me re-look at. Yeah, actually, I see that now. I'm re-looking at Lieutenant Dan's whole character, and especially I like the scene even more. The storm sees like him, basically the inner turmoil being represented now in the storm, and then the storm is finally over. He's confronted with the Lord above now, saying why everything is just like built up to the thing until he lets go fully.
Yeah,
and then the fact that it's in like the water, because usually the water symbolizes that. Either the raging thing that happened now with the storm, and then now the calm that comes
like
afterwards.
It's the same water, and he's just like literally just floating on this perfect like sunset with the clouds in the distance. And yeah, no, it's a beautiful image to see, and it just, again, that kind of ties in for me with when you first meet him in Vietnam, because it's like raining for 4 months.
Oh yes,
and I was just thinking like he probably was so comfortable being up there because they were getting rained on for 4 months, and he was just like, he felt in his element. Probably he was like back in Nam, you know. So yeah, I really think that he's probably my favorite character in the whole movie.
Lieutenant Dan. I've never thought about it like that. Wow. Now I'm gonna re-look at Forrest Gump some more. So okay, this is my last one. The last one at all. Yeah. Closing, well, pre-closing. Let's hope it's a good one. Okay. I feel like we spoke about this already. No. Okay. I'm just gonna read it for interest's sake, but we spoke about this. So while he ran and ran and ran, where did he sleep at night and relieve himself? But he did say this though. He does say like he stopped only to like sleep and to like relieve himself. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that one and then. Hopefully it's what I'm thinking. And I know exactly who wrote this. This is Cole's one. Was the movie just a long ad for Nike and their Cortez shoes? I mean, I thought about product placement in this movie, because when I was watching, I was like, okay, this is a clever way to like have product placement, especially when he was running in the track, like the track stuff and the bump. What was running? The original. They noted him being the creator of bumper stickers.
Oh yeah.
Now I don't know, because like I feel like we've spoken about both of these. So
look, I feel like, you know,
as you let you.
Let's just see
all of them.
No.
What does it say?
John Travolta, Tom Hanks.
Oh, do you know why?
Why?
Because John Travolta was a consideration before Tom Hanks. So John Travolta, who do you think John
Gump meets Hanks?
Oh, okay. So I know why this was here. Again, this is so basically the movie gained such popularity that they wanted to they wrote a full sequel was written where Forrest Gump meets Tom Hanks. And I was like, how is that going to play out? So I didn't know. So I was also like, basically, I feel like this question was going to be like, how would that play out, and what significance and why would Gump be beating Tom Hanks?
That's interesting. I don't think I'd want to see. You know, I feel like this is one of those movies that you just don't need a sequel for, and you shouldn't like have a sequel for. Because if you do, then it just kind of ruins it.
I'm glad they didn't release the sequel.
Imagine.
Because no, actually, I'm glad they didn't release the sequel, because they would have ruined a bit of a classic, iconic movie. But then again, you never know. There might be like 2025, 2026, Forrest Gump 2.
At this point, they literally are releasing sequels for everything, so I wouldn't really be surprised.
So, Adrian, you have been the first guest actually of the longer version of the Cinephile Studio, the potential Cinephile Studio. So thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Any closing remarks on Forrest Gump and the storyline? Because we touched a bit of everything now.
Yeah, I think, look, ultimately you can say what you want. Like, people are allowed to think what they want about Forrest Gump and its meaning, but I honestly don't think Forrest Gump is the type of movie that's trying to preach anything here. If anything, I think Forrest Gump is just purely the story of what happens when you just accidentally up finding yourself. And you can say whatever you want about Forrest Gump, but for me, whenever I watch Forrest Gump, I feel something. I feel a whole range of emotions. I feel joy. I feel sadness. I feel like euphoria. And for me, that's what makes a movie. Good film just does that. And Forrest Gump does that. I've seen this movie so many times. Every single time I see it, I feel something. And that's why, for me, it's going to be in my top 10. Just because of that. So if you haven't seen it,
Netflix is still having it, I guess.
Do yourself a favor.
And you can get it from other websites. I don't know where you go for your movies. You can go to any other website, but this has been the Pretentious Cinephile Studio, and I would like to offer actually an invitation to come for more discussions, create a community of cinephiles. Not PDF files, but like cinephiles. So do you accept my invitation?
Oh, I'm happy to, Clarence. I'm happy to.
What movie would you want to discuss? Like, if her to come back next week? Like,
okay, that's a good question. It's interesting because I want to discuss Toy Story 3.
Okay.
One of the greatest movies ever made, Toy Story.
I'm not a big fan of Toy Story, but anyway, this has been the 4th episode, and we will have Adrian we will have Adrian back again, hopefully to discuss another movie, not Toy Story. But yeah, thank you so much, Adrian. Until the next time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.